Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to talk about team up collections because I may be going insane, but I recall the devs saying that they were aiming to release 3 team up collections per year. And for a little bit of backstory history reminder, I had to look it up myself. Team up collections released in about October 2023, so just over 2 years ago, where we got Midnight Suns, Sinister Six, and X-Force. And then, starting in February, I believe, of 2024, which was last year, we got Guardians. Then around the anniversary, we got Avengers. And then around this time last year, around Black Friday 2024, we got Symbio. Then, there was a long-ass pause until about the anniversary of this year, I believe, where we got this shitty-ass Defenders one. And since then, absolutely nothing. So by my calculation, by my math, they're short 2 team-up collections. And that means even if they release a team-up collection in the update for December 2nd, or sorry, December 10th, which should be the next update, or December 9th, whatever, they're still going to be down 1 team-up collection. So I asked the question, have the devs given up? Have the devs just completely forgotten abandoned team-up collection in favor of getting players to spend money in other ways? And there's actually a pretty strong possibility the answer is yes. Mainly because if you think about what replaced team-up collections, maybe team-up collection was supposed to be their kind of like, you know, pseudo tier 5 moment, but it didn't really take. Most players just did not gravitate towards it. The spending was just not there. So what did they pivot to, ladies and gentlemen? Elite gear. Yeah, they're like, you know what? We can't convince you guys to spend money on this bullshit 5% chance to upgrade. Well, then we'll get you to spend money on this other bullshit 5% chance to upgrade. And they went with Elite Gear. Now, I think Elite Gear is a better implementation than team-up collections, although it actually might be more expensive. When you consider the fact that you spend a couple $100, let's say, you spend $200-300, and that's going to give you a collection that's going to buff 12 in this case, 12 characters. Now, for this comparison, not all 12 of these characters can go to tier 4. But if I had to do the Elite Gear, genuinely, for Spider-Man, Venom, Miles, Carnage, Agent Venom, Silver Surfer, and Null, that's 7 Elite Gears. If I had to do that, I would have to spend way more money if you look at the odds and the averages of how much Elite Gear would cost, and if you look at how much the chests go for. So, if anything, they replace it with Elite Gear, they're probably making more money, A, and B, it's more effective, right? Because people are more into it, right? People, you look at some top-end PvP accounts, and these guys are going all in and elite gearing every character. And the thing is, they're also elite gearing for characters for PvE. You can see Mephistos, Lunas, you know, all these other characters getting elite gears just to push a few 100,000 points, maybe 1,000,000 points in days of ABX or ABL. And with the new expanded restrictions, with the 28 days now, you can bet there's even more characters that have it. Like, how much you want to bet? I don't even have him tier 4, but I'll just randomly go to Bullseye because he's a top tier performer now. He's one of the most frequently used. And I'm just going to scroll down to rank 28. Let's just say this Korean guy, rank 28. Does he have Elite Gear done for Bullseye? Ladies and gentlemen, drum roll please. Yes, he does. That's crazy. It's only level 41, but he actually is investing in it. Whereas with Team Up Collection, first of all, you can't tell if anyone's doing Team Up Collection. Maybe that's why it didn't really stick. But second of all, you know, most characters just don't have a Team Up Collection. And that's kind of that's the bigger problem. That's the bigger elephant in the room, is the devs didn't, they just didn't understand that the team-up collections have to feature characters we actually want to upgrade. And that's what makes the Elite Gear system so much better, because all tier 4s, right? So any of the good ones in there, boom, you're going to want to do their Elite Gear. But even the Defenders set, buddy, you release this, and 3 of the Defenders don't have tier 4. The only tier 4 Defender is Daredevil. Did they seriously think about this now, because Doctor Strange, we know, is in the Midnight Suns, right? Doctor Strange is in Midnight Suns, and so is Iron Fist for that matter. Hulk is in the Avengers, we know that, right? Hulk is right here in the Avengers team-up collection. So, and Silver Surfer is in the Symbiote team-up collection. So the only new and sort of pseudo-relevant characters, the only tier 4s left that don't already overlap with the team-up collections, is Daredevil and Namor. did the devs seriously think that players were going to shell out money for Daredevil and Namor? Namor is not used for anything, and Daredevil was Daredevil dead on arrival. I was trying to make a joke there, but it didn't work. He was dead on arrival. He's terrible tier 4. So of course no one's going to do this, but you guys kind of set yourselves up. So maybe, I don't know, maybe the person in the dev team and the marketing team who came up with Team Up Collection is an idiot, or maybe they got bad advice from their manager or one of their team leaders or whatever, and they decided to pitch the Defenders Team Up Collection. Not to mention the fact, you know, like, just think about this in terms of logic and in terms of continuity. We're going to release the Thunderbolts update for the 10-year anniversary, and we're going to pair that with the Defenders Team Up Collection. Are you guys stupid? Like, genuinely speaking, you are stupid. Everyone was expecting Thunderbolts Team Up Collection. I made videos expecting the Thunderbolts Team Up Collection. You even, well, you didn't give it to Sentry because you guys are morons, but you guys even made a Thunderbolts team, right? A Thunderbolts ability tag, right? Now, this is the main issue with Team Up Collections, is that you have too many fragmented factions of characters. And because they started off with these kinds of weird, unpopular groups, Midnight Suns, Sinister Six, these are kind of like loose teams, right? Like, if you think of the Guardians of the Galaxy, most casual people are just going to name the ones from the movies. They're not going to know, oh, Beta Ray Bill was a Guardian of the Galaxy, and Nova, and Phyla-Vell, and, you know, Quasar, and all these are the guys. All these are the cats. You see what I'm saying? So they go with more generic groups, like the Avengers and this kind of things. It's Symbiote. It's smart, right? Symbiote is not a team. It's just a loose category of characters. And it's not even loose. It's like characters who just, on the off chance that they were at one point in time afflicted by the symbiote virus. And it's not even an exhaustive list, because we know, like, Spider-Gwen and these other characters are not here, even though they are symbiotes. And, like, what? This was a one shot, right? This was just one comic run where he gets venomized, and literally everyone's been venomized at this point. They're not necessarily in the game, but they added him in permanently, right? And we know that the way Team Up Collections work, if characters get venomized in the future, it will not add them to the symbiote Team Up Collection. So the Team Up Collection in and of itself is a bit of a flawed system because of the fact that it's static. It's not dynamic. Characters can't come and go off of Team Up Collections. Now, that does make them more attractive for spenders, because you know you're guaranteed the value forever, but then it makes each Team Up Collection have to have multiple worthy characters. And the problem with that is the devs are not very smart. And so they choose collections that don't have very popular characters, like Guardians of the Galaxy, Defenders, even Sinister Six, and then they're surprised when players won't shell out millions of dollars to build them up. Well, of course not. Look at how many characters on these lists are still not tier 4. And these are from the original sets created 2 years ago. In the 2 years since the Sinister Six collection came out, there have been 0 new Sinister Six tier 4s. Not to mention, it has the smallest available list with only 9 characters. What were they smoking? This was never going to generate them a lot of money, and certainly wasn't going to generate them consistent spending month after month. And you can actually sort of see that with a couple of the changes that they've made recently to Team Up Collections, which may be a symbol or sort of a notice that they're waving the white flag and kind of giving up on it. For one, they added in the common collection tokens. And so now when you purchase from the shop, you're no longer purchasing packs for exclusive tokens for only Symbiote or only Avengers, etc. You're just purchasing these generic tokens, which can then be applied to all. This is a very egalitarian approach, and it makes the Team Up Collections a lot cheaper to max out, and it means any excess tokens you have for the common collection, at least, are more valuable, much more valuable. But that also means it drives down their bottom line and it makes them less money, which probably is a big reason why they just gave up on the system. Now, that being said, all that being said, and the fact that I do think they gave up on the system, I still think it's a decent system. I think they need to give us more ways to get tokens. I know they introduced the crafting, but because they don't release any new tokens, you can't craft the latest one. The latest one is always locked behind the waiting game. And with the waiting game going up on a year now, it's pretty ridiculous. But they basically just have to solve this by maybe dropping the cost to craft from 5 down to 3, when you're converting tokens from one to another, because even with, if you take a look at this, even with, how many of these tokens do I have here? Let's take a look. If I wanted to get the Guardians, for example, I have 600 symbiote tokens. That's only gonna equal, right? 60 divided by 5 is what, 12? That's only gonna give me 120 tokens. That's not very much, considering the upgrades at that point, if you're at the end of the upgrade, cost you 50 a pop. You can't see it because of the camera, but it's 46 a pop. So 120 tokens is going to give me less than 3 tries here. And that's after saving up 5 of the 600 of the tokens. Did I do that math wrong? I may have done that wrong. Divided by 5. No, I did the math right. Yeah. So even when you save up literally thousands of tokens, it's not really going to do much. The second thing that they can do to really just make Team Up Collections better is just release more. Release more. I do think they will eventually release more Team Up Collections, but for example, the Fantastic Four should have had a Team Up Collection. With Doom and these other characters, you know, they could have a Team Up Collection for the Inhumans, because they're terrible and they need all the help that they can get, and there's just not that many of them. So they could certainly put all or most of the Inhumans on that Team Up Collection and just call it a day. Drop Kid Kaiju because he's Kid Kaiju. Drop Lincoln Campbell. These are just completely useless characters. And you still have, what is that, 8, 14, so you have 12. Yeah, if you just drop Lincoln Campbell and Kid Kaiju, you have 12 characters, boom, and it's just as big as the Symbiote Collection. I certainly think that Team Up Collections can still be valuable and still make them money, but they have to be good. They have to be good and they have to be big. So they all have to look like this. They have to have 12 characters. You can't have less than 12 characters on Team Up Collection anymore. It's just not going to sell. This is unacceptable. 10 is unacceptable. And then there have to be at least a handful of tier 4s. So in the case of the Inhumans, if we go back, we already have 3 Inhumans tier 4s. That's not really enough, but that's kind of like the minimum. This Sinister 6 shit cannot happen, where you have, not only do you only have 9, but you only have 2 tier 4s. It's just such low value. I would much rather get Venom's elite gear and then start hoarding than give him an extra 5% pierce. Now, yet, don't get me wrong, if I get that last piece, that extra 5% pierce might actually be better for him than the elite gear, but on the other hand, it's way more expensive. It's way, way more expensive, and then I'm at the mercy of the devs for whenever they want to upgrade any of these other characters. Whenever they do, yeah, it's a big boon to get that extra 10% pierce, that extra 40% attack, but in the meantime, you've just invested and you're seeing nothing on your return. And the thing is, with the game entering its 11th, well, coming up to the 11-year anniversary, there's a chance you could never see these characters get upgraded. Like, let's say you upgraded the Sinister 6 collection, you spent money to get this maxed out, and you're like, man, I can't wait for Sandman and Vulture to get their tier 4s so I can use them in content with an extra 10% pierce. I have some bad news for you. The game could shut down before Sandman and Vulture ever get another uniform and ever get a tier 4 besides like a pity tier 4. And the thing is, even if they got a pity tier 4, the way that they're giving pity transcendences and tier 3s to characters, mostly transcendences, it wouldn't do anything. Sandman, as is, from 2016 at tier 4 with his elite gear, with his Team Up Collection, is still dog. So it's an insane thing to ask players to do. Whereas with the elite gear, you know the character's already tier 4, they're already somewhat relevant. And then you just get to bump them a little bit further, get a bit more stats. Not to mention the fact that the elite gear just feels more fun, because you can reset it, you can change it around. It's like, oh, right now I'm doing instinct attack, but you know what? I want to change around my Mephisto to something else. I want, you know, I want to make him really good against boss types, or I want to give him more elemental damage. You get to play around with that. Oh, I want to switch the attack to defense. I want to switch the HP to dodge or something. You get to experiment. There's very little of that with the Team Up Collection. Not to mention the fact that if you want to experiment, if you want to change some of these around, you have to pay crystals. Like, what were they thinking with this? This is so lame, so dumb. This is another thing that they have to change. This should cost gold. Why does this cost crystals? Right? Because then you're encouraged to just set it once and forget about it and never think about it again. And the thing is, if you want people to spend money, they have to be thinking about it all the time. If they think about it once and never again, they're never going to spend money on it. So I see a lot of problems with the Team Up Collection system. I think the devs have frankly abandoned it. I went through the archives just to show you guys. I went and I found the original the patch notes from when this update came out in October 2023 to release the team up collection, the very first one. I could have sworn all they said is team up themes can be added through future updates. They may have edited this without our knowledge, without saying that they've edited it, but I could have sworn that they said that they were going to add 3 a year, but there's absolutely nothing here indicating such. I went to the 9-year team letter of appreciation, which was, a few months after this came out. No mention of that whatsoever. I went to the December one from last year, which is a year after the team up collection came out. Again, nothing there. The only thing that they did talk about that was supposed to be for this year was planning more accessible ways to obtain emblems. That never happened, aside from sales packs, which hopefully is not what they meant. But yeah, needless to say, there are quite a few things, quite a few promises that the devs don't deliver on. But this may be one of the most egregious examples of a, whatever you want to call this, a collection system that the devs completely abandoned, more or less, within 2 years. Which I find kind of crazy because they didn't even give it a chance. And the majority of characters, the vast majority of characters, have 0 team-up collections, which is wild to me. Anyways, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching the video. Smash that button if you're enjoying the content, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.